What if the biggest obstacle on your path to personal growth is not the outside world, but something within you? What if it's your own ego? An intriguing question, isn't it? Let's start by defining what we mean by ego. It's not your self-esteem or your self-importance, but rather it's this little voice in your head that's constantly seeking validation and superiority. It's like a petulant child, always wanting to be the center of attention, craving for more, and never truly satisfied. Now, this might sound harmless, maybe even helpful in some cases. After all, who doesn't want to feel important or validated? But here's the catch. Your ego often operates counterproductively to your personal growth. It's like a sneaky saboteur, undermining your efforts and weakening your resolve. Consider this. Have you ever found yourself refusing to admit you're wrong just to save face? Or perhaps you've turned down opportunities because they seemed beneath you. That's your ego at work. It's not concerned with your growth or your happiness. It's only interested in maintaining its own inflated image. And the worst part, it's incredibly good at masking its true nature. It convinces you that it's your friend, your protector, keeping you safe from the harsh judgments of the world. But in reality, it's holding you back, keeping you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and insecurity. So how do we break this cycle? How do we silence this rogue voice and reclaim control over our lives? The answer is simple yet profound: humility. By embracing humility, we can counteract the destructive tendencies of the ego and pave the way for true personal growth. Humility allows us to acknowledge our mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. It enables us to see beyond our own needs and desires and consider the bigger picture. It's not about belittling ourselves, but about recognizing our place in the grand scheme of things and striving to be better, not just appear better. The ego, while a part of us, can often be our own worst enemy. So ask yourself, is your ego a friend or a foe? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this topic and explore ways to discard the ego and embrace humility. In contrast to the ego, humility can be our greatest ally. It's like a secret weapon, subtly empowering us from within. Humility allows us to recognize our limitations, and in doing so, we open the door to learning, improvement, and ultimately personal growth. Consider the redwood trees, the tallest in the world. They don't reach their towering heights by standing alone. Instead, their roots intertwine with others, creating a network of support. This is humility in action, acknowledging that we can't do it all alone and there's strength in seeking help. Or think of clay. It's flexible, malleable, ready to be shaped into something new. That's the essence of humility, the willingness to be shaped, to learn, to grow. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of ourselves. It means thinking of ourselves less and focusing more on how we can better ourselves by learning from those around us. Humility, not ego, is the key to personal growth and strength. Now that you understand the impact of ego and the power of humility, here are 10 practical ways to discard your ego. Firstly, recognize the ego. It's that voice in your head that tells you that you're better than others, that you don't need anyone's help, that you're always right. It's a bit like a snobby aristocrat from a bygone era, always looking down its nose at everyone else. But remember, just because it's in your head doesn't mean it's right. Secondly, practice self-awareness. This is the ability to observe your thoughts, feelings, and actions without judgment. Think of it as being a watchful owl, perched high in a tree, observing the forest below with keen eyes. By becoming more self-aware, you can identify when your ego is taking the wheel and choose to steer in a different direction. Thirdly, cultivate humility. Humility is the antithesis of ego. It's like the humble bumblebee, buzzing about its business, not seeking attention or praise. To cultivate humility, acknowledge your mistakes, learn from them, and understand that everyone has something to teach you. Fourthly, practice empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It's like stepping into someone else's shoes and walking a mile. By practicing empathy, you can see the world from different perspectives, which helps to dissolve the ego. Fifthly, let go of comparisons. Comparisons are the ego's favorite pastime. It's like a competitive athlete, always trying to outdo others. But remember, everyone is on their own unique journey. So focus on your own progress, not how you stack up against others. Sixthly, practice gratitude. Gratitude is like a warm blanket on a cold night. It wraps you up in the comforting realization that you have so much to be thankful for. By focusing on what you have rather than what you lack, you can keep your ego in check. Seventhly, embrace imperfection. Perfection is an illusion, a mirage in the desert of reality. Accepting that you're not perfect and neither is anyone else can help to deflate the ego. Eighthly, be present. The ego lives in the past and the future, reminiscing about past glories or fantasizing about future triumphs. But life is happening right now, in the present moment. It's like a river constantly flowing. By staying present, you can avoid getting swept away by the ego. Ninthly, practice forgiveness. Holding on to grudges is like carrying a heavy backpack up a mountain. It's exhausting and gets you nowhere. By forgiving others and yourself, you can lighten the load and move forward. And finally, tenthly, practice self-compassion. This is about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. It's like being your own best friend, offering a comforting arm around the shoulder when things get tough. By practicing self-compassion, you can soothe the ego's need for superiority. Remember, discarding your ego is not an overnight process. It requires patience, practice, and persistence. It's like taming a wild horse. It takes time and dedication, but the reward is a peaceful and fulfilling journey through life. By discarding your ego, you can become a more open, understanding, and compassionate person. You can form deeper connections with others, experience greater joy, and lead a more fulfilled life. It's like swapping a flashy, fast sports car for a sturdy, reliable, and comfortable vehicle. It might not turn as many heads, but it'll get you where you need to go in a much smoother and more enjoyable way. So let's bid farewell to the ego, that snobby aristocrat, that competitive athlete, that illusionist. Let's welcome in self-awareness, humility, empathy, gratitude, acceptance, presence, forgiveness, and self-compassion. Let's embark on this journey together with patience, practice, and persistence. Remember, you are not your ego. You are so much more. You are a complex and beautiful tapestry of thoughts, feelings, experiences, and potential. So let's start untangling those threads of ego and weave a new narrative, one of humility, understanding, and compassion. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I look forward to seeing where it takes us. Remember, discarding your ego is not an overnight process. It requires patience, practice, and persistence. Stoic philosophers have been discussing the pitfalls of ego for centuries. They argue that ego, the inflated sense of self-importance, is nothing but a barrier between us and our true potential. It blinds us from our weaknesses, prevents us from learning from our failures, and fosters a false sense of superiority. One of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This encapsulates the Stoic view on ego perfectly. The ego is not something that happens to us, but rather it's our reaction to success, failure, praise, or criticism. To discard ego, Stoics urge us to practice self-awareness, humility, and acceptance. They advocate for a clear understanding of our own abilities and limitations, and the courage to accept them without any pretense. As the Stoics taught us, a life free of ego is a life of tranquility and personal growth. Discarding your ego does not just lead to personal growth, but it also leads to a happier, more fulfilling life. When we let go of the ego, we remove the barriers that often hinder our relationships. We become more understanding, more compassionate, and more genuine. The ego often blinds us, leads us to unnecessary conflicts, and prevents us from truly connecting with others. Without it, our relationships thrive. On a personal level, discarding the ego allows us to experience joy more fully. We become less preoccupied with ourselves, less concerned with proving something, and more open to the world around us. Our happiness is no longer tied to our achievements or our status, but to our experiences and our connections. With a discarded ego, we also make better decisions. We're less likely to be swayed by pride or fear of embarrassment, and more likely to make choices that are truly best for us. When you discard your ego, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities. Take the first step to discarding your ego today and experience the transformation for yourself. This journey is one that begins with but a single movement, a single choice. The 10 tips shared in this video are your tools, your stepping stones towards a life of humility and personal growth. They are not just words, but actions waiting to be taken. Start implementing them in your everyday life, one by one, and witness the change that unfolds. You are not alone on this path. We are a community of individuals striving for self-improvement, and your experiences, your journey matters to us. So don't hold back. Share your experiences, your victories and struggles in the comments section below. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore, to learn and to grow. So let's walk this path together. Please subscribe to this channel for more epic life lessons. Thank you. You are unique.